Hello and welcome back to Mount Borealis Zoo. It's been a little while, so I apologize for anybody who's been waiting for this next episode. I think I actually alluded to it in one of the last videos before I actually knew, but I did end up getting sick. I ended up getting COVID. It's been a few weeks ago now. Totally fine, but it did put me out for a little while, and the kind of lingering effects of being super stuffed up and like just not good. It did not bode well to filming my voice. So unfortunately, there was quite a bit of a break there, but we are back. I am still super excited about this zoo, and I'm so excited to get back to what we are working on. And thank you all to everyone who is new in the last few weeks. We actually managed to hit 1,000 subscribers while I had to take a break. So that's pretty exciting. I'm super excited about that. And it's just a bit of added motivation to like keep up these videos and put in that extra little bit of work that it takes to get these videos up and running. So without any further ado, of course, this means that I will be putting in a bit more effort for you all. And today the next part in the zoo is going to be an ice palace. So I'm really excited about this, a little bit nervous coming like back into it after a bit of a break and having that be the thing that we're coming back to, just because it was a pretty big project in mind, but I think I can still do it. I think I can still handle it. Essentially, it's going to take up a huge amount of space over here. I'm thinking like, you know, kind of a cool palace entrance, walls around the outside, kind of a mirroring exit, and then in the middle, probably like, I don't know, maybe not really like a full like village sort of thing, but kind of like big courtyard, and we'll have some food and we'll have some drinks and gift shops and all of that kind of stuff in there. And I also want to feature the lynx and the leopard as part of the palace over here. So I'm really excited about that. I think it's going to be super cool. I know the polar bear is going to go over here somewhere. I'm still not totally sure if I want to like make the palace so big that the polar bear is in it, or like maybe just after it. But either way, we'll continue on this way. This will be the exit to this train here that's not finished is going to be at the back of the palace as well. So right around here, and then we're going to have another gondola station right here that goes up and down the mountain. So that's kind of the general vision for this area. Anyway, now that it's just a white snowy. Oh no, okay, we got to deal with that too. But yeah, that's kind of the idea. So I think we'll get quite a bit done. This might take a couple of episodes. I don't know. The palace I think is going to be quite a big project, but we'll have to see. Let's see who is. Yes, because John here has aged up. Let's just send him to the trade center for now. We can deal with them a little bit later. Oh, it looks like Anne too. I'm gonna actually just send her to the trade center as well, so that there doesn't get to be any inbreeding going on here. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I'm pretty sure, I mean, nothing really has happened in this zoo since the last episode, even though it's been a long time. It's not like I've been playing this off camera or anything like that, so there shouldn't really be any other updates. As always, though, in the comments, let me know if there's anything that you want to see in a bit more detail in these intros or outros, or if there's anything you're curious about because you've kind of jumped in partway through this series and you don't know, you want like a retour of some of the places or something. I can definitely do that sort of thing as well. So yeah, without any further ado, let's hop into the speed build. All right, here we go. First voiceover in a while. It's, this is one of the parts that I find, actually, you know what? It's not the most difficult. I always think that it's going to be difficult to talk for, 18 minutes about whatever is being built right here, but you know what? It's doable. But anyway, so I was a little bit nervous going into this build in general this time around, just because it was it felt like it was going to be a big, like, something big to chew on right after coming back from quite a break in this game, but I am actually quite happy with how it turned out. So the very first thing that we are building here is going to be the palace walls. So I didn't want it to be too castle-y. I think I'd kind of mentioned before, because I do want to do an actual castle later, like a bigger, more traditional castle kind of thing. But I think the walls, they needed to be here. Like, it wouldn't have made much sense without them. So this part is kind of the most traditional castle-y thing about this palace, I think, mostly is this wall that's going around the outside. And I don't know, I think it kind of fits. It's still a very stark transition. Like you go straight from, you know, the Japanese woody kind of area straight into an ice palace, but at least there is a wall. So you have to actually go through the gates to get to the palace itself. But overall, the wall's pretty simple. Essentially, that's just what it looks like all the way around. I spent quite a bit of time trying to figure out how I wanted to do the towers. And you can see here, I'm going to show kind of two sort of different ideas for the towers here. I was playing around with it quite a bit. I don't even think I ended up filming the final like tower that I decided on. It was kind of a mixture between the two that I'm going to build here. But I think in the end, it kind of worked out. Sometimes you just have to build and experiment and make some stuff, and you know, it's hard to find I mean, I find it hard sometimes to find really good inspiration, like photos and stuff for this game. I know you can make anything you want, obviously, in Planet Zoo, and some people go really crazy and use like crazy little pieces to like make really realistic looking other pieces, and etc, etc. I don't like to overdo my piece count, especially trying to play like this game, you know, as a franchise zoo. It just doesn't, it's not gonna work too well to go too crazy with the piece count. So kind of balancing finding designs or like ideas that can actually be replicated in this game without getting too into like custom making pieces, I do find it a little bit tricky sometimes, but I think I kind of found a really good balance here with this wall, as well as the actual palace that we'll be getting to fairly shortly here. I don't think I show me struggling with these towers for too much longer, but for the most part, just kind of playing around a little bit with the ice pieces, the snow pieces, and I do end up keeping the glass domes for the roof part. I think it's kind of a nice little, I mean, it doesn't make sense, probably not really. I mean, these are supposed to be protective and they're made of glass, but you know, it's all just for show. It's a zoo. It's not a real fort or a real palace of any kind. So we can have it be kind of like a, you know, a Frozen inspired sort of fun thing more so than something actually worth. Actually, you know what? I kind of like how that looks. I ended up getting rid of that. That's definitely not how it ends up looking in the end. But now that I'm seeing it again, I don't mind how that looks. I think it's kind of a cute idea. Maybe I'll make some gazebos like that. I don't actually end up finishing, this is probably labeled as part 1. I don't end up finishing the whole courtyard. The palace itself is good, but the entire courtyard is going to be mostly empty in the end. So I kind of like how that little gazebo ended up turning out though. So I'm gonna have to keep that in mind for the next episode here. But now it is on to the palace itself. So this was actually my second attempt at making one. The first time I kind of started building something with the outline, it ended up being, it was a castle. Like it wasn't the kind of just like big palace sort of vibe that I was looking for. I don't know, I don't actually know the technical difference between a palace and a castle. In my mind, castle, you know, very formed, what is the word I'm looking for? Very fortified. That's the word I'm looking for. Like a very fortified structure, obvious like guard towers and everything else that you can imagine in a castle. I don't know. It just comes across to me as a very specific shape. And the palace, on the other hand, I wanted it to be just a little bit more chill. Like I still have a lot of towers. It's still very large. It's still a very cool building, but I think I got away with it not quite looking like a castle. So hopefully you like how it turns out. I quite enjoy how it looks. So the first thing that we're doing here, apart from this wall, I did the edging on it, and then this wall, I wanted to do this whole thing first because I just repeated it over and over for the palace. But what I'm doing here is trying to create a really large window, because one thing that is definitely missing from this game, and maybe it's just because I've been building weird large things, but there are no large windows. Like these new stained glass windows that are above there are a great, like, are the only big windows that we have. There's those and then one like arched glass window, I think, but that one is also just like a straight see-through sort of window. So there's really no like big rectangular windows and that kind of thing. And I don't love how it looks with the kind of like made up window here. And I think it's just because in the daytime, it's so dark that like those panels are very dark in the daytime. I think it's going to look way better at night. But yeah, that's just kind of, I don't know, something that I've noticed in this game is kind of lacking a little bit is larger pieces, even larger columns. Like I really like some of the more decorative pillars and like columns and stuff, but they're not big enough for a build like this. I had to basically just use those big ice blocks as columns because nothing else made sense. Like you couldn't stack them, like they weren't tall enough. Yeah, I'm curious to see if they do come up with a second game, or I know there's a lot more build controls in that new one, Prehistoric Kingdom, that's coming out. I haven't played it yet because I didn't get on the alpha, and I actually haven't watched very many people play it, but I am definitely going to try it when it does come out, and I'm curious to see what the options are for building in that, if there's better options for building really large scale in that game or in future versions of this game. I don't know yet. I actually think that they would probably release a future version of Planet Coaster before this one, but you know what I mean. Either way, it's I think it definitely works out. So essentially the base design here is this, what would that be? It has 8 sides. I think it ends up having 8 sides. So it's like an octagonal building, and this great big balcony coming off of the front there. There's no doors leading to the balcony. I didn't really think about putting doors in, but you know, maybe you can't see it from the ground anyway. There's nobody floating up in the sky looking for the balcony. So, yeah, it is what it is. But this was the base design. I just found a random image on Pinterest. I don't even remember how I found it. It was just a cool. It wasn't even like I don't even think it was an ice castle. It was just like a blue palace sort of thing. And I thought it was really cute and would fit. Something I could actually make in Planet Zoo. So that was my inspiration for it. And yeah, that is what that looks like. Giant balcony. I end up opening up the balcony and stuff later on, and adding a bit more detail to the walls there as well, because it's a little plain, but I mostly wanted to just, get the main structure down first. The details where it made sense, just so that I didn't have to repeat it over and over again. But for the most part, main structure first, details later. I just find that so much easier to like keep track and know exactly how big everything's going to be, and etc., etc. So on the right hand side here, there is a great big white snow pillar, or I don't know what those are called, like the tower, I guess, white snow tower. And I thought I don't know, I kind of like, at first I wasn't sure what I was going to use all over the palace itself for the pieces, but I think it kind of works out with the blue plaster, the ice, and the snow pieces all kind of mixed in together. I don't know what this is going to look like when the snow melts. I didn't recolor the roof tiles because I couldn't really see what the roof looks like compared to everything else. So that's that default color for those like colorful slate tiles or whatever they're called, the roof pieces with like the purple and the blue and stuff. So I don't know how those are going to look when the snow melts. I might have to go back in later and like make that a little bit of a better color. I don't really know yet, but we'll see what happens. Because yeah, it is just covered in snow now, and most of the time it's actually going to be covered in snow, so it probably doesn't really matter. But anyway, what we've been doing here while I've been rambling on about roof tiles, these are the newer pieces from the Europe pack. They're the fluorescent tubing, and I wanted to do this kind of cool design up these pillars. I end up repeating that kind of curved top. I move it down a little bit too, like there's multiple layers of it eventually, and I don't know yet what it looks like at night. Next episode, one of the things that I want to do to like wrap up this area is go through at night and light it up, because I think something that's going to look really cool and make this place just like absolutely pop is if we add in a bunch of like blue and purple lighting all over, so that at night you kind of see the windows glowing and you can see the ice really lighting up with like some colorful lighting and all of that. I think it's going to be super cool. But that's all going to be next episode. So I don't actually know how that tubing turns out at nighttime, but I think it kind of gets the point across even during the day. I think it looks quite nice. So yeah, I think that pretty much is what I end up doing for those towers. I'll add some windows on the top there. as well. And like I said, I repeat the tubing going down. I don't know if I do that quite yet. Yeah, right here. Yeah. So essentially to add a little bit more detail to it as well. But roof pieces for something like a castle is also something that we don't really have very good options for in this game. I mean, it kind of makes sense. It's not Planet Coaster. You're kind of meant to, the precs are obviously meant to be a little bit more realistic and like what you would see in a zoo. And you know, this is not something that you would typically see in a zoo. So I think that's totally fair, and I wouldn't berate the game for not having it. But I definitely had to get quite creative with things to use for the roofs, and I think it's going to be even more tricky for the castle, because a lot of what you see for inspiration and stuff for that is very, very high, very steep roofs, and even the 4-meter steep roofs are not steep enough for to make it look like realistic like that. So we'll see how that one goes. I don't know. We're gonna do it quite a bit later, so maybe we'll get, you know, a pack by then or something like that. You never know. But for here, I think it kind of works out. I would have loved for the peaked ceiling, the peaked roofs on that main part of the building there, the 3. It would be nice if those could be taller, but you know, I think it kind of ends up working out in the end anyway. And yeah, you can see here I did repeat. Essentially it's mirrored from the right side to the left side. There'll be some changes to make it less symmetrical later on. We're going to add in the train station into the right hand side of the building and expand out the deck a little bit on that side. So they're not going to be totally symmetrical, but I just figured a symmetrical base would make the most sense to start with. And then really the last main part of this building is, oh, sorry, I actually think I called that 3-part thing at the front, the octagon. I was thinking about this part of the building. So this part of the building, I believe it's 8-sided. I'm pretty sure I made it 8-sided. We'll see as we build it here. But essentially this is going to be a big round kind of back part of the building, and then everything just gets connected from here. So similar to what I did for those first three walls there, I put together this main front wall and then just rotated it and repeated it throughout an entire circle. Worked quite well. And again, just kind of trying to make up some bigger windows. I don't know, I don't like how this looks in the daylight. I think it's gonna look way better at nighttime, but I don't know, something about it, I don't love it. Those are the glass half pieces that I was talking about. I do end up putting those emissive panels, whatever they're called, the those dark panels that light up at night to make windows. I end up putting those behind the circular ones as well in the end. So I think that helps a little bit just to make it a bit more consistent. But yeah, I don't know. Don't love it. But I think from far away and like from the ground, I don't know. I think it works out. I think it doesn't look too unrealistic in the end. But yeah, 2 more towers, one on either side again. These ones I decided to do square towers, and they're actually quite simple. I used the glass roofs again here to kind of tie in with the wall pieces. So that's the same roof I think that I used on the wall, or similar anyway, roof pieces that I used on the barrier wall outside here. And then speaking of windows again, I got tired of making windows and didn't really want to deal with any more of that. So I used these more of the stained glass windows. I think they fit okay. I mean, the animals aren't necessarily like Arctic animals like you would expect to be on windows of a like ice castle or an ice palace, but I think it kind of gets the point across. They're just meant to be some cool windows. They're good shape, they're a good size, and they don't look as funny as the ones that I made. So I think it kind of fits in there. And that is the main, what you're seeing there is the main like general shape that this ends up being. I end up struggling a little bit with getting the roof on this guy, and I end up in the end doing a big dome essentially. So that kind of really, the classic way of making a dome is what I used here. I end up using longer pieces than I do in this clip. I have to go back and make them longer because the building was much bigger than I was first expecting it to be. But here I'm adding in the rest of the sides. And then, yeah, essentially I just use those those ice pieces, the like ice brick pieces, make a big dome over the top of it, rotate it around a bunch of times, and that ends up, I don't know, I think it looks pretty good. Like, you can tell, obviously, there's some pieces sticking out in the end and stuff, but I think that it, you know, it gets the point across anyway, which is really the entire purpose of this. Not like this. So the entire thing, you can kind of see there, I cut it out because I was like, oh, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? The entire front piece is one, and then I just rotated it to each of the 8 sides. So you can see there's a lot of overlapping and stuff on the roof, but I don't know, there aren't really many other good, there's no good way to do really large roofs in this game. So I think that, I think it looks really cool, and honestly I think the layering kind of, I don't know, I think it kind of fits, so that doesn't seem to be so bad. So that is the completed palace there. I just filled everything in, essentially off camera, made it, you know, filled in all the gaps and extended all of the buildings that needed to be extended and all of that kind of thing. And there is our main outline. There'll be a little bit more detail on it afterwards, but you know, that's kind of the what it looks like. And I wanted to bring the station in. So at first I was thinking maybe there'd be another building over where the station originally was for it, but I think it works a lot better to just bring it right into the actual palace, because I was almost tempted to like not even allow people inside the palace. I was like, I don't want to do the interior, it's going to be so messy, yada yada yada, but I mean, we built it, we have to let people inside, right? So that is basically what I'm doing here. So I add on this extra kind of extension to the balcony that covers the train station, so people are gonna be able to walk in and go and, you know, enter, exit the train from here. And this is also the last train station, so we get to finally complete the train and not have that error message come up constantly saying that our train track is not completed, because it finally will be. And it'll allow people to come all the way over here from that kind of the area right off the starting area. The train doesn't go all the way back to the very beginning, but it goes back to the beginning of the Japan area anyway, and kind of rotates around through there. So Zoo's getting quite big, so it's good to have a little bit of extra transportation. But that is it for this build, so let's go take a closer look. Okay, here is the entrance for our ice palace. So I did do a little bit of landscape kind of work off camera, and a little bit of detailing too. Added a little staff room here and made sure everything was powered and all of that. But for the most part, you know, what you've already seen is what you're gonna get, at least for the main part of the build. The rest didn't take very long. So I don't think I put the river in on camera, I can't remember, but essentially I made the river come underneath here so that it could be like a little bridge, just a better bit of a transition area, and a bunch of rocks and a little bit of plants and all of that fun stuff. I think that this is the same river that comes through the panda habitat there, so I think that kind of works out. These are what those final pillars look like. I know I was talking about maybe not having them completed in the speed build, but that's what they ended up looking like in the end. I think they're okay. I think I got better as we were building the ice palace for sure. But as you come in this way, I just added a bunch of very colorful foliage and stuff in here. I thought that kind of fit really well, like some expensive plants and stuff that, you know, like the hydrangeas that you might not necessarily see in the Arctic, but, you know, somebody obviously keeps them up. And a nice big fancy fountain as well. The fountains in this game aren't super elaborate, but I think I did a pretty decent job of making this one look kind of cool. Anyway, but this is all kind of out in the open. I love the sun right now. It looks really cool. Kind of ominous with the clouds in the background, but not too intense. So I opened up these 3 archways here so that people can come in. It's obviously going to be quite dead here right now because there's not much going on. I also did not do the interior, as per is tradition on this channel. I don't know how to do interiors in this game, but you know what? Maybe one day I'll finish this one. I actually do want to make, I think this one will be a fun interior to make. So I am gonna do it next episode. That's gonna be one of the things that gets done. We're gonna do the animals for this area and the interior of this building and lighting. That's going to be all next episode, so if you wanted to see this area finished up, definitely take a look for that. But yeah, people are coming on the train now. That's really cool. There's actually quite a few people, which is awesome. So once we get the animals in here, I'm sure they'll stay a bit longer. But I did do the basic, at least like cleaned out this area and like added the roofs and the floors and stuff in here. So this kind of takes back to a staff room and a power transformer. Just so the staff room's for essentially just the staff in the actual restaurants and stuff here, more so. I'll have to put a different area in for the keepers once we get the animals in, but I don't know exactly what that's going to look like quite yet. But yeah, this is just kind of a little like mini food court. There's not much going on here. There wasn't really a lot of space to put the food buildings, so I don't know quite yet. I could like expand out these walls a bit and make the interior a little smaller, and then that way we would have room on like every wall to put a like a bathroom or a staff building or something. So I will probably end up doing that. But again, that'll be waiting until we actually get the interior done in the next episode. I did, oh, there's a little bit of a mess up on that roof too. I'll have to fix that. It looked kind of cool getting to see all the way up to the top, but with the way that the roof pieces work in this game, it just didn't quite work out because all those roof pieces, like they're sticking out a bunch and yeah, it didn't look great. So it is what it is. We've got a flat roof in there. And then this will have to be decorated a little bit too, just because it's going to be kind of the guest entrance and exit, to probably another habitat. I'm thinking we'll do one habitat. Actually, I don't need to be in guest mode anymore. Let's get out of that so I can actually see what's going on properly. So I'm thinking one habitat over here. This whole area here can be a habitat. And then maybe I'll expand this building out to give the animals a little bit of a natural shelter there, or a unnatural shelter, but a little shelter inside the palace, not castle, as well. And then I guess they'll go through here. They can go through the food court kind of area, and then they'll probably come back out. I'm thinking I'll keep it close to the train so that this whole big like area here could be another habitat. I know those aren't huge habitat areas, but we'll have to see. I think, what were the two animals I said at the beginning that I wanted to put in here? I think it was the lynx and the snow leopard. So I don't know how much space they actually need. So we'll see. If there's not quite enough space for them here, what I might do is like open this up, like make it so that there's like a tunnel going through here or something, and just make this whole thing one big habitat. Honestly, might work out a little bit better. And then we just pick one, either the lynx or the snow leopard, and then the other one can just go somewhere else. We'll see. I don't know. I'm honestly thinking that might work out better. Just a nice big habitat here with like a tunnel going through. That might work out well. But either way, that's all for next episode anyway. And then eventually what will happen is we'll have a guest exit here. And then this is going to be the other part of the gondola is going to be like right here. I want to make it nice and close so guests don't have to walk too far to get to the other gondola ride. So it honestly might even be connected to the wall right here. And they might just go right outside the wall, take the gondola up. Or it could even be inside the wall, really. We'll see what works out the best. But essentially, it's getting dark now. The gondola is going to take them up this side, just like this gondola is going to take them up that side, and then we'll have the whole top of the mountain to work on. The other thing that I am kind of thinking about, that's not going to be next episode, so I'll have some time if you guys want to give me some feedback on it, but I was kind of hoping to do a polar bear exhibit in this zoo, but I know the polar bears are really hard to do. Like, they're very expensive. Oh boy, what facility's in the wrong place? Oh, is it people on the train? Oh, weird. Okay, I might have to think about that a bit. Anyway, that was quite a distraction. As I was saying, polar bears. So I know they're very expensive, but our zoo is pretty, like the funds are coming in really good, and especially once we get like the extra animal in here and all of that going on, I'm not too worried about money. But I know they're also really hard for guests to enjoy because their habitat is so big, right? So like if we did this entire like back area, say, as a polar bear habitat, we could do that. And then maybe guests could I'll have some places where guests could walk over top of the habitat or something coming through here. And maybe the gondola is just kind of like fenced off from the polar bears or whatever, and the guests can go in there somehow. It's definitely a way to do it. I kind of wonder if it's worth it. So maybe let me know. Do you really want to see polar bears in here? We could do something cool, like an overhead walkway, even coming from the top of the wall, or we could do little enclosed walkways, like glass enclosed. you know, we'll just call it reinforced glass to say that the polar bears can't break it. Definitely an option. I just don't know if people are actually going to walk through it. So we'll see. I mean, maybe we just get the polar bears for the sake of getting them and don't really worry about the guests so much. But I don't know. You can let me know what you think. Polar bears, or are they not worth it? But either way, look at that palace out in the background in the snow. I mean, our zoo is, all the transitions in our zoo are very stark, obviously. And this is no exception. It's a very, like, stark transition from here to there, but I actually think it looks really cool in the background. Even if you kind of, like, come back here and you can just sort of see it looming in the background there. I think that's pretty cool, especially when it's like this and you can, like, hardly see it back there. Very cool. But anyway, I think that's enough rambling for the end of this episode. But as always, let me know in the comments what you think so far of the zoo. Let me know what you want me to show off if you are new here, or if, you know, there's just been some areas of the zoo that you really liked, but I didn't go into enough detail about, or anything like that. Just let me know what you want to see in the videos, in the zoo, and everything else. I love taking your suggestions and even just your comments in general on how things are going so far. I love reading the comments, so please leave them, and I will talk to you in the next one.